A place that I had never been to before March of this year was Heppner, Oregon. That's the place where my mom's family comes from. Her mother, her grandmother, her grandfather, her uncles and aunts, cousins that I'd never met. This was a journey to go and see that place and meet some of those people.
And stay right. And then you turn right.
This is my second cousin. We stopped at her house briefly before heading up the Columbia River Gorge.
And now you go down 4th Plain through 1, 2, 3, and I think it's the 4th light.
Driving up from Nancy's place towards Heppner, we drove through the Columbia River Gorge and we stopped at this overlook to enjoy the view. It was really magnificent. Not a word I use too often with scenery, but it deserved it. We drove up the River Gorge Highway along the train tracks, with bluffs on one side. That's wilderness stretching towards Mount Adams. These bluffs line the river as we head east, stopping in Arlington for a quick spin with the camera before heading back up the river. The gorge has gotten lower until eventually we got to the turnoff for Heppner, and we found that windmills had replaced wheat and cattle on the fields on the way to Ione. One of the first old buildings we came to on this road was this depot, and I found out that it had a special link because it was once the home of my mom's family. Okay, so we've stumbled into the headquarters of the Covenant of Elohim, which is the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, according to the very friendly man with a green beard in our hotel. He claims it was only for the 1 week long St. Patrick's Festival that they celebrate here. I, however, have my doubts. I think he may actually be some sort of ritual that they do. Maybe the St. Patrick's is a cover for the other things that happen here. You know, like, let's make ourselves seem more American. We'll celebrate a month of St. Patrick's Day. How come your cousin didn't mention this to us? Is that like the secret of Heppner that we're not supposed to find out? It's actually not a town anymore. It's
Where were my 2 cousins that I called today and they didn't answer the phone?
Oh, the store's closed. Look at that. The supermarket closed at 6 o'clock.
Is the grocery store still open?
No, ma'am. I just locked the doors.
Okay.
So it's 7 p.m.
Is it open tomorrow?
Yes, sir. 7 a.m.
Shit.
I wonder if my cousin Fran has joined the new church. Do you attend the Methodist church?
Mm-hmm. I do because there's a 95-year-old woman that Ida Farah, she still lives in the shoe shop right across from...
Yeah, Farah Shoe Service, yeah.
And anyway, of course she doesn't do shoes anymore,
Right.
she's 95, but still...
She could if she wanted to.
Yeah, well, her eyes aren't what they used to be. But anyway, I used to go see her when I first moved back, and then she says, I think for you to come to church on Sunday. And I said, you do? Because that's where we went to church when we were kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
This church.
Okay.
I have people pick me up and take me. But I went to all different churches because I went where the singing was the best. You know? The Baptists really, they kind of had the market cornered on the singing.
Really?
Yeah, the fundamental churches, there's a lot of good singing and shouting and rolling around sometimes. Snakes, I don't know.
Oh, come on. It says something's kitchen, and it's open. Maybe we should go look. It might close before we get there, but well, at least they've given it a shot. And we could just, if this is Taiwan, we could just go to anyone. Oh, there's Les Schwab there. We could just go to anyone's house and ask them to feed us.
I know, we did that.
The Stable of Youth. That name just kind of frightens me. Maybe that joint over there. What's the place next door? No. He called it a pizza place or something.
Yeah,
Well, we got 40 minutes to find out if there's anywhere else besides this cultish youth place. What are your thoughts about this town?
Oh, I'm really glad I don't live here.
Yeah, Fran wants us to move back.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really good idea until we got here, actually. I'm sure in the daytime it's much more welcoming.
Why did Fran move here?
She moved here, huh?
Yeah, she deliberately came here.
Creek, important?
Because we stopped at the wagon train trail that talked about Willow Creek.
Is that the one that flooded and killed everybody?
I don't think so. I think it was something else. There was a dam up there and the dam broke.
Uh-huh.
So we'll have to find out tomorrow. We'll get the librarian to open the museum.
And that courthouse reminded me of the one in Back to the Future. It was kind of a town with no pulse. Well, we weren't there for the pulse. We were tracing our routes through the wheat fields of northeastern Oregon. That eagle on the left there. I learned the story of this house next to this iron bridge. An old family of Heppner, the Schessingers. Amazing that it just stands up like that after almost 150 years. And this is my family's house, my aunt's home. Now it belongs to my second cousin. Walking around inside it was like walking inside a haunted house, although I didn't feel any ghosts, but it was just like something out of time. Amazing to have the chance to walk around inside it and see all the paintings on the walls and the ancient wallpaper. Pictures of people I don't think anybody knew who they were. Closets full of linens.
My brother probably, he would really be shocked if he saw this area here because so much of it changed with all that high water.
Oh. Was it just a really wet winter?
Well, no, we kind of had cloudburst and some really, really heavy rain, and it just raised up.
Well, probably not that. It's probably blowover from Hanford or someplace like that.
Very
so,
possible.
You never know. And then when they did all the stuff in Idaho, we could have gotten some here.
Mm-hmm.
What's in Idaho?
They did some testing in Idaho,
Oh, okay.
and it got into the water that the cows drank, got into the milk, and the children were all poisoned.
Is that below ground or above ground?
They ended up with, cancers.
Was that airbursts or underground or?
I don't know if they put it in the water themselves or if it was, I don't know.
This museum in Heppner, sort of a repository of items stashed in people's closets and attics and basements. And they have an archive of the old families of Heppner, and one day I may go back there and
Like I said, when we're doing our,
see what I can find about the Morgans and the Slocums.
we find interesting tidbits, and it tells us about this chair. I always thought it was the ugliest chair on earth until I read the history, and then to me it's like the coolest chair on earth.
Huh, so it's from a slave plantation.
The Willow Creek runs through Heppner, and in 1903 it burst the dam, killed 250 people in the town. That's the dam there.
I think I asked Fran where our grandmother was buried, and I think she said in the Dalles. There's a cemetery in the Dalles. There's quite a few buried there.
In a way, this accident seems to define the town. It's their, wouldn't say claim to fame, but certainly the most memorable event. Now we're out on the trail of the Oregon Trail. Just a few miles out of town is a conservation area. We drove through wheat fields to get to it. On the way we spotted these pronghorn antelope running along the ridgeline. Now we're walking amongst the native bush. It smelled great. So many natural colors and textures. And I learned that my mom feels a special connection.
So this is your birthright?
Yep, this is it.
Why?
I kind of feel like all of that activity coming from Pennsylvania to here led to me, my birthright.
So who in your family came on the Oregon Trail?
Well, evidently my grandfather and his family and my grandmother and her family. I found out today that my grandmother was a baby. And she came on the wagon trains as a baby. And
Which
I didn't
grandmother?
know that. This is Grandma Morgan.
She was the mother of whom?
She was the mother of my mother, Mary. And that's who we've been visiting today, are some of the descendants of Catherine and Elmer Slocum.
So Catherine was a Morgan?
Catherine was a Morgan, and
She came on in the wagon.
she came in the wagon as a baby. That's how the story, but we're finding we don't have to look very hard to dispute any of these stories. So I'm going to do some research when I get home.
Do you know where the Morgans come from?
Have no idea.
And where do you think Slocums came from?
I don't know, I think they came from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
This is a place called Wells Springs. It was a stopping ground for the travelers on the Oregon Trail. There was a natural spring here and they would water the cattle. This is the remains of the spring. Not many people come out here. Very quiet. It was an awesome place to visit, and I'm really glad that my mother brought me here. And I think I share with her the feeling of some kind of connection to this place, this landscape. That my ancestors came through here, but also lived near here. And as I travel this road, I'm taken back to a place that I have a connection to. I doubt that I'll ever have the chance to live in this area, but I was certainly glad to visit it. And it really opened my eyes to a view into America